All right, are we live? See if we're live. It looks like we're live. We could be live. I don't know. Are we live? Yep, we're live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Um, Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Phil from PDQ Merchant Enterprises and the ATM Mastermind Group page. And we go live every other week to answer questions of what you guys might have. And I have a topic. So this week's topic today is going to be everything you need to know about looking for a bank account, or basically here's what I wrote it down. It is everything you need to know about finding the right bank for your ATM business. So most of the time you're looking for an ATM bank. A lot of the times, what I try to instruct you guys to do is go to your local bank. However, what happens is in this, um, that you might be banking with Chases of the world, or you might be banking with Bank of America, or you might be with Wells Fargo. So now what you do is you go to Wells Fargo and you ask them, "Hey, I'm going to get into the ATM business," and they say, "Oh yeah, no problem," because most of the time you're talking to somebody and they don't have any objections. So now you fill out the paperwork, you get it submitted, and some branch manager, or some assistant manager, or somebody comes back and says, sorry, we can't bank you. You're considered an MSB. Now, from my education, from to you guys out there, MSB stands for money service business. What is a money service business? Well, a money service business is a business who buys and sells currency. So currently, like a currency exchange, or they take deposits. You're in the ATM business. You do not take deposits, and at least not the ATMs that we're talking about, and you don't sell currency. So then you go back to them and you say, look, this is the definition of what a money service business is, and clearly I am not a money service business. Now sometimes that'll work and sometimes it won't. So what lately we've been finding out right now is that on some banks, they are saying, and it reminds me almost of our federal government, is yes, that's the definition of what a money service business is. However, we are changing the definition of what a money service business is, and we're considering your business, the ATM business, a money service business. Now, clearly that violates their policies and their rules and their regulations. What you guys don't know about the banks is that the banks basically have to go to the community, and they're supposed to service the community. And you being part of the ATM business, you're part of the banking industry and part of the community. But banks are starting to get arrogant of what they want to do and what they're not supposed to do. And so they forget very fast who gave them permission to operate in this town and city. And who are they supposed to serve? They're supposed to serve the community. You're part of the community. However, some banks, as you know, are too big to fail. So nobody's holding them accountable for these little nuances. They're rewriting bank what the definition of money service business is. But at the end of the day, they're a business and they can operate business pretty much however they want to. But they're violating what they're telling their local Congress people, the local community, the mayors, the trustees of what they said that they would do. What they said they'd do is service the community, and you're part of the community. So, but that being said, sometimes you just can't fight City Hall, and we got to move on, and we got to go to someone who will bank us. And so, what I recommend almost all the time is go to a small credit union, go to a small mom and pop savings loan, a small bank with with a few, um, a few branches. Those banks are more inclined to do business with you. They want to do business with you. They want to take every opportunity. Banks make money from checking accounts. You're going to provide a checking account. In this case, we always tell you to have three. Before you open up your ATM business, start with one. Once you get rock and rolling and now you're in business, then you can expand to two and then eventually three. Where do I come up with the three? One for your vault cash, one for your surcharge, one for your general checking account. All right. But if the bank is charging $10 to $15, you know what? Minimize it. Just go to two. You keep your vault cash separate than your general checking account, you can combine your surcharge, your general checking account together. But now, what kind of banks are you looking to get? You're looking at a bank that wants to do business with you, and you're also looking for a bank to establish a business relationship, whatever that business relationship happens to be. For us, when we started, I started probably just like everybody else. I went to the bigger banks. We were banking with a big bank. We went to the big bank. And at that time, nobody really cared. And it wasn't a big deal. We were banking with a big bank. Well, what happened is they started coming to me with little rinky-dink fees. Oh, we're not going to do this. We're going to charge you. We're not going to do that. We're going to charge you. Pretty soon, it was time to hit the exit door because their service of what they were doing for us was a problem. Hey, they want to know how much money we're going to get. That's not a problem. Problem is, well, it wasn't going to be available at this time. You couldn't go at that time. You had to get 20s at this branch, and you go to another branch, and I was like, you know what? I don't have time to be running around. You know what? You have the bank. Just order it from the Fed. Get that money in here, and then we can all go, well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do this. All those were a challenge for me when I was in your position. Then we just shopped around our local banks from where we were. At that time, there was about 10 local banks in our area. I went and I talked to this one and that one, and I started asking questions. How much do you charge for an ACH into your bank? How much do you charge to get an ACH out of your bank? How much is a deposit? If I want to get money, how much does that cost? How much notice do you need? What is the notice you need? Are you available? Can I get money? Do I have to go through the drive-through, or can I come up into the bank? What is that policy? So those are the kind of things you want to ask. You want to ask, hey, when you're in the ATM business, what you're going to do is you're going to have 30 transactions per account. That's the most ACH you're going to put in there. Now, if you go every day to the bank, which you got basically 20 business days a month, and you get 30 deposits, that's 50 transactions. Most transactions are going to be, you're going to have an account. It's usually going to be 100 transactions. That's usually the number that they're going to ask when you do this. So when you look at a checking account, call it a small business checking account is what you're looking for. You're going to be looking and saying, okay, I'm looking for what, do you have any free checking accounts? Yes or no? That's the first question you're going to ask. All right. And you do. All right. What's the minimum deposit to have that free checking account? Usually it's $100. It's not a lot of money. Sometimes it's $250. Sometimes it's $1,000. You gotta ask that. Sometimes they're raising their minimum of what they need in an account. You got to keep an average of $500 a month. You got to keep an average of $1,000 a month. You got to see what those thresholds are, and then you ask those questions. So the way averages work, if your ATM is depositing money every day, and then you know what, you let it build up. There's $2,000 in there. Then you take the money out, let's say on Friday, and then every Friday you take money out, and then that money basically goes back in Monday morning. Then it builds up. So you got all that income coming in. So, you get the weekend money comes in on Monday. And some banks, if you're lucky, they'll deposit on Saturday. So you get money on Saturday, you get money on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now you take it out. Now it starts over again. Those averages, now your account average will be a little higher than if you take it out every day. And so you want to create a higher average. I try to leave the money in the bank as long as possible. And then when we need it, we take it out because it builds up your average. So your average might be whatever it is. Let's say if you're playing with $5,000, you put $5,000 into your ATM. Every day it comes into your bank account. And then once a week, maybe you take that money out, you put it back in your ATM. Okay, great. So half of that money is in your ATM, half of that money is in your account. And then what's nice is that shows your bank, hey, you know what? This guy keeps an average of, let's say, $3,500 a month in his account. That's a big number to the bank. The bank feels secure. They can overnight lend on that money. A lot of times, especially interest rates are high. You guys won't know this, but the bank, what they do is they sweep the money out of your account at night when they close the account, and then they put it back in the morning. That's called overnight lending. Now, when interest rates were 1%, the banks didn't care. Interest rates are a lot of money now. I mean, the prime rate, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's like 8.5 or 9. They just raised it again. I wasn't paying attention, but I think it's at 9%. Now, overnight lending rate, that's going to be a lot of money. So they're going to ask for They want more money, more deposit money. That is all the way banks make money. They make money on overnight lending. They make money on service fees and transaction fees. So you guys have a nice potential. The bank should be looking for an ATM business because of the money that you're going to keep in the bank. But you know what? Not every bank wants that kind of what they call risk, because you're putting a lot of money in. They have to order the money for the Fed, and then they have to keep that money. Now, if you're just starting out in the business, it's not going to be a big deal, because you're talking about anywhere from 3 to 5,000 per ATM. It's not a lot of money for the bank. They're gonna probably be happy to get you, because they have to take their extra 20s. They got to ship them back to the Fed. So they keep so much on hand, and then the rest they got to ship back to the Fed. So that's the benefits of some of the smaller banks, because they don't have to ship the money back. Now they're giving it to you. It's coming back in an ACH form. So that's a nice benefit. The other benefit is now they got it, like I said before, they got a checking account. They got somebody new that they can do business with, who is open up a checking account. Now, one of the things we did here in the Chicagoland area is I established a banking relationship with a bank. Now, everybody in Chicago who calls me says, Phil, I'm having trouble finding a bank. Do you know anybody? Can you help me? I'm like, not a problem. I recommend all the business to this one vice president. He loves it. He's like, wow, you keep sending me customers. Yes, we do, because that's what we want to do. We want to build that relationship. So not only is he banking us, I'm sending him business. It's not a lot, but it's something. I send him, 3 to 5 customers every year. That's more customers than he had. And all their advertising in the world isn't as lucrative as that. So it's nice to get more business for his bank, and it's nice to help the guys we know here in Chicago to get them a bank. So those are some of the things you want to ask. Then what you want to do is you want to say, hey, I noticed that at this bank you guys are operating right now. If you guys have any kind of money, you can see, hey, I'll put it in a money market account. I got a CD account, or maybe I got some side money you want to put in there. You want to earn extra interest. That's nice. We always talk about that. You always want to talk about, hey, I got some more money. Maybe it's all, maybe it's not the truth, but you want to have those conversations, because anytime you can, what we call, get sticky with your bank, that's good. You want to buy a new car, or maybe not a brand new car, but maybe you got a used car you want to buy. You know what? Push it to the bank. That helps out with your business. You want to refinance your house, or if you got a house, or you want to refinance something, go to the bank. Have them look at it, shop them out, and say, hey, I'd like to do the business with you. Now that you're in an ATM business with that bank, it's also nice to have that relationship, to get as much as you can. Get a car loan, get your house loan, get a line of credit, all those things. Get an overdraft. Maybe you want to get an overdraft line of credit with your, I know our bank, they just do a little one, but who cares? I get it. And you know what? Every once in a while, I let it go. So they make a couple of dollars. And then that's nice, because now they go, oh, look, he's got a line of credit with us. It's not a big line, a little line, but who cares? Because it's showing a relationship. We try to finance anything we can with that bank, just to show them that, you know what, we value our relationship, and we try to do as much business as possible. It's always nice to have those relationships, but it all starts with picking the right bank. If you have the right bank, let's say today, hey, Phil, I found a bank. They're a local bank. We got a couple ATMs with them. Everything is great. That sounds good. Just like a location, like I tell you, we had, I'm going to go a little off tangent here, but we had a location. It was a grocery store. I posted it up a couple places. A great grocery store, family owned. They've been in business for over 50 years. You know what? They decided that they wanted to sell. The parents, I don't know if the parents passed on, but the kids were running the business. And I don't know if they just got tired with the COVID, and they were having, I know with COVID, a lot of small businesses were having challenge with employees. I don't know what the situation was, but they decided, you know what, we're going to sell the business. Oh, excuse me. Oh. They're going to sell the business, and they were going to go out. So they decided to close the store. And then they said, you know what, we're not going to close the store. We're going to try to sell the business. So for about a year, they tried to sell the business. They couldn't sell the business. And you know what? Now they're going back to closing the business. So we pulled our ATM. They told us, hey, last Friday, that was the one we just had the weekend, come get your ATM. And I tell you what, I got to be honest, I was sad because we were in business with them for 15 years. Great, great place. It was a great location. They even referred a few places to us. We had a phenomenal relationship, and they were always a pleasure to work with. And you know what? They went out of business. So now what do I do in this situation? Well, I had a whole year. I had a whole year to prepare for it. I just didn't sit on my hands. What I did is I said, okay, we're going to lose this location. Let's go out and look for other locations. I was always brought up, and you know what? I know that we're going to lose probably 4 or 5 locations every year because things close, things shut down. There's something that and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to replace 4 or 5 locations every year because I know they're going to close. They're going to, you know what? We had some food places. They were cash only. They said, "Oh, we're going to be cash only." And you know what? We were doing 150, 200 transaction. All of a sudden they said, "You know what? We have to switch to credit cards. We have to do credit cards." And the ATMs dropped to 30, 40. Okay, great. That's 30, 40. Well, you know what? It doesn't work for me. The business model doesn't work for me anymore. So now I can go to them and I said, "You know what? Here's what we can do. We're going to change the surcharge and we're going to revamp our model, and that's it." If they say, "Hey, I don't want to do that," it's no problem. We're pulling the ATM out. In the meantime, we're going to look for a location. So this is exactly the same situation. It took a long story to get to this point. Is when you get a bank, look for another bank. We have a backup bank. We just put a few ATMs on there. The money comes through. I go there once in a while. I take the money out. I come in, talk to everybody real nice. But what we do is we have that second bank in case my bank, who I've been doing business with for 10 years, they decided, you know what? This isn't working for us, Phil. We're going to have to give you a 30-day, you're out. Not anything I did, but this kind of thing happens. So what we do is we have a backup. Just like when we lose a location, we have backups. That's backups. I just start to look. I'm always on the go looking for ATMs. I kind of and what I do at the level that we're at is I try not to put out too many ATMs. What I try to do is look at the ATMs that are not performing, and then we revamp the route to make it more profitable, more profitable, more profitable. And you need to do that also with a bank. Just don't rely on one bank. Go look for another bank. Create another relationship. So let's see what we got. What do you think about running ads with ATM toppers? Is a good idea. I don't know what's going on, man. This is like the 4th question. I did get that question 4 times today. What do I think about it? Here's what I'm going to say. This is my stance. And I don't want to be disrespectful to the guys who are selling the toppers or the guys who are selling or trying to sell the advertising. Here is the question. How do I make money with the toppers? That's the question I got. Here's what I found in my research. And if you can tell me any different, I'd like to know. The guy who's selling, there might be more than 2. There's a few companies out there. One is selling the topper. Okay, great. How much is the topper? From my research, we're looking anywhere from $300 to $400 between I buy the monitor, I got to buy the bracket, and some have a device that I have to add on. Okay, there's 2 companies out there that I know. One company is say, hey, I will pay you $25 to as much as $40 per month per location for that. His device is about $200. Then I got to buy the bracket, which is $75. And I got to buy the monitor, which is $100. So I'm in the whole deal for $400. That's the price. It's in my head. Now, maybe it's a little less, maybe it's a little more, but that's the price. Okay, fine. Now he pays me, let's call it $30 a month. Okay, great. I'm looking, well, that's fine. It's 12 months. I'm basically even and things are great. And I continue to make money. Here was the rub. The rub is the guy says, well, Phil, you can't use that wireless device you got. You have to get a different wireless device with more bandwidth because we're constantly downloading and uploading stuff. I'm like, well, the device you're talking about now is going to cost me $30 a month. So you're paying me $30. I got a $400 investment. It's costing me $30. How do I make any money? And then his response is this. Well, put it on the store's wireless. Put it on the stores. I'll give you a device. You can tap into the store's Wi-Fi. That's great. Now what happens is this. This is my experience. When I do that, we use bandwidth from the store. Now that means anytime that the store's internet goes down, they're blaming me. Anytime their POS system goes down, I get blamed. Anytime their cameras go down, if they got cameras, I get blamed because you're sucking all the bandwidth, Phil. I don't want to be subject. I've been through this whole thing with the store and their internet, and it's always my fault. And come help us figure things out on a weekend when it's not my ATM. But they're going to blame me. So long time ago, what we decided to do is we want 100%. Well, not 100%, but almost all of us, all our locations are on our own wireless device. That way, we're not responsible for if their internet goes down, their bandwidth goes down, something happens, they change providers. None of that. I'm all off of that whole situation. So I control my own destiny with my wireless. And the problem that I see with that is now you're back with the people. I'm not saying it's wrong. If you can use their bandwidth and the guy's paying you $30, then great. And you can make money off it, then home run. Do the deal and you'll make $30 a month. If the store comes back and says, "Hey, you want to pay me for this Wi-Fi, or you're sucking enough Wi-Fi, or you're sucking the bandwidth out," then you're going to put yourself in a position. So how do you want to handle that? Because that's what could happen. So answer those questions before. Now, the other person who's doing the Wi-Fi or the advertising, they don't sell advertising. All they do is say, "We're going to give you the tools. We'll give you a monitor, do it with a thumb drive, put it in, go out and sell your own advertising." Okay, great. Here's my viewpoint on that. I'm not in the advertising game. I'm in the ATM game. And even though it's an added value, this is my challenge against that is when I talk to people about advertising, who am I going to go to? I'm going to go to maybe I go to my lawyer and I say, "Hey, you know what? We got an ATM in a bar. Let's talk about DUIs." Or I go to a cell phone company, or I go somewhere else and I talk about advertising. Here's what I want to know. How many people come through the store, Phil? I don't have the answer to that. How many people are male or female? I don't have the answer to that. What's the demographics of that? I don't have the answer to that. So now I have to do research on all that. And I don't want to do any of that. So, but if you guys do and you're in a marketing game and you're in an advertising game and you know how to do all that, then do it and make some extra side money if you can. For me, it was too much energy for me to do. I stay in my lane. My lane is ATMs. My lane wasn't advertising. So I stayed out of that lane. I looked at it and I said, "You know what? I'm not in the advertising game." Here's what we used to do, just to give you backwards. I used to be in the jukebox business. Okay. Entertainment, jukeboxes, pool tables, pinballs. Here's what I try to do. We tried to sell advertising. Back in the CD game, and this is how long I tried to do this. Back in the day, we used to have 100 CDs. The 99th slot, what I did is I went out and I went to different people who I thought would benefit. And once an hour, it would pick up, and we had 10 tracks on a CD. I burned a CD. We put a little advertisement on. The guy selling gas, the local thing, come to Jimmy's Shell Station, full service. He did his own full service gas station. Come to, Donahue's DUI specialist, best in McHenry County, will get you off. No, not a problem. He's the best. We went to these guys. I just wanted to put it on for free to show them that it worked. Just mention the ad and drive it. So I talked to the guys. I said, "Look, here's what we got to do. We'll put it on there for free. You okay it? Okay, no problem. I just want to see if it'll work. And if it'll work, then my next step is what I was going to do is I was going to go to, at the time, Old Style and Pass Blue Ribbon. I had a friend, she worked there, and I was going to leverage that relationship. But I wanted to show them, hey, I got these guys to do this advertising. It was all free. Okay. So what happened is they picked up the CD once an hour, played a track, and it went. You know what? We went through all that so I can get the beer distributor, and it didn't work. I ended up actually having multiple conversations with the beer distributor, but I could never get them to redo it. They did it once and it was done. So I'm just saying I've been in that advertising lane, but it's a lot of energy for me to not make any money. So I guess maybe I had a couple bad experiences. It's not my bag, is the advertising lane. So, but if you guys can do it, go ahead. What's your best method to secure a mobile ATM for an event with no fence to chain to? What we do is I chain it to a telephone pole, a light pole. I chain it to the tents because usually the where we put the event, there's a beer tent, there's a light pole, there's a telephone pole. Sometimes they put the events we do, they have generators, we chain it to the generator. So that's what we do. Now, if so, that is all the spots we do it. I also have kiosks. So the ATM is in the kiosk, and the kiosk is I got like well, you can't see it, but I got like 3-foot spikes that we got from a tent company. I pound the stakes into the ground, so it's very hard to get that kiosk out of the ground. But then we also take the money out of the kiosk at night. So if it's a multiple day event, I'm putting the money in the morning. It stays there all day where people are there, and then I take it out at night, the money, and I leave the ATM open. So if anybody goes going to steal anything, there's nothing to steal because they can get in there. Look, what are they going to take? There's nothing to take. They just care about the money, and so they'll try to get the ATM. They're not going to steal the ATM. What they're going to do is try to steal the money in the ATM. There's no money in the ATM. So that's how we handle a mobile event. Great question. But that's how we handle all the mobile events. Is I try to chain it to, and if I can't chain it to anything, I pound the stakes in the ground. And then if I can't do that, then we don't, usually I also go 2 ATMs together like this. So I'll put them back to back and I'll chain them together. We do that. Sometimes we put 3. So we chain all 3. So they got to steal all 3. And that's hard to do. So we try to do it that way. I also have kiosks when we do the mobile event. So it's not very, it's very hard to steal. But again, in those type of environments, I'm always taking the money out at night because that's when we're vulnerable, is when night comes. Because usually if they don't have, you got to ask the question, do they have security at night? Yes, no. Sometimes they say, well, kinda. Well, what does kinda mean? Well, that means we don't have anybody on the property, but we do patrol the area. Okay, well, my event is, or not my event, but the event is usually going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, well, where are the police at? If they get a call on Thursday, Friday, Saturday because there's a DUI or a guy did something or something happened, the cops aren't looking at the festival. They're out, they have so many police, and they usually have to have 2-3 squad cars during that arrest. So they're not going to be looking at my ATM in the field. So it might go 4 or 5 hours. Well, that's 4 or 5 hours too much for me to worry about that. Cinder blocks. My event has security and police. It's a market from 9 to 1. Yep. Right. So yeah, you could put the cinder blocks in there. You could put the weights in there. At the end of the day, it's still going to be, they still could steal it. So they just lift it up and pickup truck and it's gone. So yeah, I mean, cinder blocks is good, but I would get weights. You can go to like, I don't know if you guys got those Play It Again Sports or whatever, but we have those places right here in Chicago. Well, basically you can buy the big plates, the 45, not the 45, but the 35s will fit in there, or the 25s will fit in there. You can put the plates in there. You can get dumbbells in there. That's all good. You can get 80-pound cement bags. You can put those in there, but you got to wrap those in plastic because they kind of they start to break a little, and the cement gets all over. But those are all good things to weight down your ATM if you don't have anything in chain. Everywhere we've ever put an ATM, we're just blessed by this. There's always something to chain it to. They always had the fence that they put around the event. They always have the tents that they put up because they have the ticket booth, or they have the food vendors. They have the lights. They have the generators. All the events that we did, they always have all that stuff. Now, like you said, what do they do? Here's my question. There's no fence to chain it to, but you're saying it's 1 p.m., 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. They got to have a generator with lights somewhere. So maybe you can chain it to the generator. I don't know. But maybe the generator's not in the beginning. I don't know. But you should always be a generator there, especially if it's at night, because they need power. There has to be power. They plug into something. And in my experience, there's always a generator, and there's always a fence, and there's always a light post or a telephone pole in there that we can always chain our ATMs to. All right. All right. Well, hey, I just want to thank you guys for, if this was helpful, put one in the chat. I want to thank you guys for joining tonight. It's always nice to hear from anybody, and great questions tonight. Hey, banks are a tough thing in this industry. It's probably the toughest thing that you will find is the bank. For me, that's something I can't control. The customers I can control. Look, if they want to do business with it, great. If they don't want to do it, no big deal. There's a million customers on, but I don't have a whole lot of banking options, especially if you're in a small community or small town. That's a big deal. But always try to establish your one bank and then go get a fallback bank. And just in case that happens. So, hey, if this is, again, thank you guys for joining. I'm going to go over, if you guys are interested in getting an ATM business, we have a course that teaches you from A to Z how to get into the ATM business, or you need mentorship. That's part of the program. We give you mentorship from now until the time I get out of the ATM business. If you guys need help, we have location agreements in there. We have mobile agreements in there. We have vault cash agreements in there. We also have service contracts in there if you want to sell your ATMs. And we have our student page. It's off of, we have our own little network of people. So if you're interested in getting into the ATM business and you want a little bit more, or you want to take your business to the next level, you know what? Check out our course. We'll put it in a link below after we edit the video. And I want to thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. We'll be back 2 and 2. Okay. And when my friend said, I'm going to try to screw up, she said, that's it. That's all, says the clock on the wall. I love that. I'm going to try to keep doing it again. I'll try one more time. That's it. That's all, says the clock on the wall. Thank you guys very much. And I'll see you in 2 weeks.